Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm excited to have you here today as we explore a very important topic. The title of our presentation is The Silent Epidemic: Why Modern Dating Leaves Women Feeling Empty. We'll delve into how modern priorities, societal messaging, and the fear of missing out have created a quiet but widespread emotional crisis among women who once believed they had endless time. Together, we'll uncover the underlying truths behind these emotional breakdowns and explore what many women are never warned about. We'll look at stories that are becoming all too familiar: women sitting in their cars after dates, feeling nothing despite everything seeming perfect on the surface. Today, we'll discuss why modern dating can sometimes feel hollow and how this affects women on a deep, emotional level. So, let's get started. Years of chasing the spark, riding relationship highs and lows, and indulging in short-term attention cycles can actually make calm, stable men feel boring. And it's not because they are boring. It's because her nervous system has been conditioned to expect chaos, intensity, and validation, rather than peace. Now she isn't describing the men here. She's describing her own emotional exhaustion. When she says, "I'm going out with handsome, accomplished, interesting men, and I feel nothing," it reveals a deeper truth. Because emotional chemistry isn't a renewable resource, it can be drained. Women, especially in their 20s, often date for excitement, for intensity, for novelty, and those emotional highs. So the spark problem isn't really about men. It's about emotional depletion. It's about how these cycles wear down our ability to connect genuinely, leaving us feeling empty even when everything looks perfect on the surface. What she's mourning isn't the men she met. It's actually the version of herself who used to feel powerful in dating. Because you see, attention isn't a permanent resource. It has an expiration date, and she's starting to feel it. When she was younger, dating came effortlessly. She had options, attention, and leverage. She could afford to be picky, to chase the feeling, and sometimes ignore the good men. But now, it's the realization that the world no longer treats her like the exception. And that's where the real crisis lies. It's not about lacking a spark, or a perfect date, or even the man himself. It's about that shift in how she's perceived and how she perceives herself. And it doesn't look the way they imagined. Until suddenly, later arrives. You can always settle later. There will always be better men waiting. There will always be options. There will always be time. Not out of malice, but out of the cultural illusion that. And many women spend those years gambling, pushing the timeline, pushing the commitment, pushing the family off just a little longer. While men gain value through age, whether it's income, confidence, or competence, women's dating leverage typically peaks earlier. There are trade-offs. None of these things are bad. But no one told them the truth. They chase experiences, delay commitment, and pursue what's called living their best life. They explore, travel, pursue independence, or focus on their careers. And while these choices are valid, they often come at the expense of relationships. This silent consequence of prioritizing everything else. It's a pattern many women follow, encouraged by society. But it's important to understand what's really at stake, what's often left out of the conversation. Until they wake up unable to feel anything at all. FOMO, or the fear of missing out, causes women to chase the illusion of something just a little better. But here's the thing: every year spent avoiding commitment actually shapes our habits, expectations, and emotional patterns. And over time, that makes committing later on much harder. Many women tell themselves, "I should enjoy life before getting tied down," or "I deserve a prince charming, so why rush?" There's also the worry: what if someone better shows up? Or what if I settle too early? These thoughts are driven by FOMO, and it's a powerful force. A common misconception is that FOMO mainly hits men. But in reality, it hits women even harder because our prime years often come with a heightened sense of fleeting opportunity. We feel that if we don't seize the moment now, we might miss out forever. So, in essence, the fear of missing out is like a silent saboteur of female happiness. It keeps us from fully committing, from finding stability, and from truly enjoying the present because we're always worried about what we might be sacrificing or what we might be missing out on in the future. So, here's the real cause of the tears. It's the loss of romantic leverage she once thought she'd always have. She starts asking herself, what if I waited too long? What if my experiences have made me less desirable? What if younger women now have what I used to have? And what if I don't offer anything truly unique anymore? That's when the identity crisis kicks in. Because, suddenly, validation begins to stop. And that's a crucial point. Attractive women, they tend to be validated no matter what choices they make. No discipline, no respect. No money, no women. No confidence, no women. No success, no women. Women are rarely held accountable for their dating decisions. Men, on the other hand, face these blunt truths early on. This is the part no one really talks about. It's the emotional crash of realizing you're no longer wife material, and that's a tough pill to swallow. But like all gamblers, the house always wins, and the house is time. We often chase short-term thrills, hopping for that perfect match, swiping left and right just to get that dopamine hit. Dating platforms have essentially become casinos, where the constant pursuit of excitement keeps us hooked. This has led to a generation of women who are emotionally depleted, chronically disappointed, and finding it hard to bond with stable men. Why? Because their nervous systems have been rewired for excitement, not for peace or connection. And the result is perpetual dissatisfaction, an endless scroll of options, unrealistic expectations, and validation addiction. We compare ourselves constantly, seeking validation from likes and matches instead of authentic connection. And social media amplifies all of this, making it even harder to find genuine fulfillment. This is what's called the rise of the dating burnout woman, a modern phenomenon where women feel exhausted, disillusioned, and stuck in this cycle of chasing fleeting highs. Now, let's talk about how reality is resetting these beliefs, sometimes quite brutally. The idea that men should accept you no matter what is being challenged, as women realize that self-acceptance alone isn't enough to foster genuine connections. Similarly, the notion that your 30s will be your best dating years is often proven false when women face the reality that dating dynamics change and expectations need to adapt. The belief that you don't need to settle can sound empowering, but it can also lead to missed opportunities if not balanced with realistic expectations. Focus on yourself. The right man will wait is a common mantra, but it overlooks that timing and mutual effort matter in relationships. And the idea that you can have it all. Well, many women are discovering that balancing career, love, and personal fulfillment is more complex than it seems. None of these women are villains. They're products of a system that sold them certain myths. They followed these feminist narratives without fully understanding the costs involved. Overestimating their leverage, believing beauty equals permanent power, delaying commitment, and having misaligned priorities, they were all influenced by these ideas. What we're witnessing now is a collective wake-up call. The women crying in their cars aren't weak, they're awakening to these truths. They're realizing that the stories they've been told don't always match reality. This is a crucial moment of reevaluation, and it's part of the broader shift happening in how women approach love, life, and their own worth. They are about self-awareness arriving too late. The tears in her car are not about men. Emotional numbness is a consequence, not a mystery. Commitment feels scary when you've lived in freedom. Peace feels dull when you're used to chaos. Stable love requires different skills than exciting love. This woman is not hopeless, but she is facing the reality that attraction changes, but accountability is forever. Not because they lack value, but because she can't feel value anymore. And now, the calm, stable, long-term-oriented men feel boring. Because she is emotionally burned out. Because she spent years chasing the wrong things. Because her dating expectations were built on fantasy instead of biology. Because she confused attention with options. Because she thought her leverage was permanent. Because she didn't develop the emotional skills needed for long-term partnership. Because she believed she had time. This is the hardest part, no doubt about it, but it's also the only real path to peace. First, accepting the consequences of your choices without resentment is crucial. Holding on to anger or regret only keeps you stuck. Next, it's important to understand that chemistry with chaos isn't the same as chemistry with a good, stable man. Relearning how to bond with stable men takes effort, but it's worth it. You need to cut back dramatically on social media, dating apps, and endless comparisons. These only feed insecurity and confusion, pulling you further away from clarity. And finally, detox from emotional overstimulation. Give yourself space to heal and reflect. If you truly want to move forward, you have to commit to these steps. This is the path forward if she wants it, taking responsibility, making conscious choices, and focusing on what truly matters. It's not easy, but it's the only way to find the peace you deserve.